An unexpected encounter, 2,000 words. Captain Zara Chen sighed as she piloted her small survey ship through the swirling amber nebula. 6 months into her solo mapping mission of the Orion Arm, the isolation was starting to wear on her. She found herself talking to the ship's computer more and more, just to hear another voice. "Looks like we're approaching the Rigel system, AI," Zara said, addressing the AI. "Any interesting readings?" "Negative, Captain," the feminine voice replied. "All stellar bodies conform to expected parameters." Zara frowned, disappointed. She had hoped to find something noteworthy to justify extending her mission. The thought of returning to Earth empty-handed after such a long journey didn't sit well with her explorer's spirit. "Wait," Ariah chimed suddenly. "Anomalous energy signature detected on the third planet of the system." Zara sat up straight, her weariness forgotten. "Can you identify the source?" "Negative. The signature does not match any known natural phenomena or technology in my database." A grin spread across Zora's face. This was exactly what she'd been waiting for. "Plot a course for the planet, Ariah. Let's check it out." As they approached the rust-colored world, Zora's sensors picked up more details. The planet was slightly smaller than Earth, with a thin atmosphere and sprawling deserts broken up by shallow, rusty seas. The energy signature originated from a plateau near the equator. Zora guided her ship into a low orbit, scanning the area intently. "Ariah, are you picking up any signs of civilization?" "Negative, Captain. However, I am detecting a small metallic object near the energy source. It appears to be of artificial origin." "A ship?" Zara asked, her excitement building. "Affirmative. Approximate size suggests a personal transport or escape pod." Zara's mind raced with possibilities. A crashed alien vessel, a secret outpost. Either way, it was the discovery of a lifetime. She began plotting a landing trajectory. "Captain," ARIA interrupted, "I must remind you that protocol dictates reporting any potential first contact scenarios to Terran Command before proceeding." Zara hesitated for a moment, then shook her head. "By the time we get a response, whatever's down there could be long gone. We're making history here, ARIA. Sometimes you have to bend the rules a little." The AI fell silent as Zora guided the ship into the planet's atmosphere. As they descended, she could make out more details of the crash site. The alien vessel was sleek and silver, its hull marred by scorch marks. It had plowed a deep furrow into the red soil of the plateau. Zara set her ship down a safe distance away and ran through her pre-EVA checklist. The planet's atmosphere was breathable, if thin, but she'd need her suit to protect against the harsh radiation from the system's blue-white star. ARIA, maintain communication links, and be ready for emergency takeoff if needed, Zara instructed as she sealed her helmet. "Understood, Captain. Please exercise caution." Zara stepped out onto the alien world, her boots crunching on the rust-colored gravel. The wind whipped around her, carrying fine red dust that pattered against her suit. She took a moment to savor the vista. She was the first human to set foot on this world. As she approached the crash site, Zora's suit sensors picked up faint life signs. Her heart raced. Whatever, or whoever, had been in that ship might still be alive. She circled the vessel cautiously, looking for an entrance. The sleek hull was unmarked by any visible hatches or seams. Just as Zora was considering how to cut her way in, a section of the hull shimmered and became transparent. Zara stumbled back in surprise. Through the now clear section, she could see movement inside the ship. A slender, humanoid figure was hunched over a control panel, working frantically. "Hello," Zara called out, her voice sounding tinny through her suit's speakers. "Can you understand me? Do you need help?" The figure inside the ship froze, then slowly turned to face her. Zora gasped. The alien was breathtakingly beautiful, with iridescent blue skin and large, almond-shaped eyes that shimmered like opals. Delicate tendrils that might have been hair or some kind of sensory organ flowed from its head. The alien's eyes widened in what Zara interpreted as surprise or fear. It pressed a hand against the transparent section of the hull, its mouth moving rapidly. No sound penetrated the barrier, but Zara got the impression it was trying to communicate. "I can't hear you," Zara said, gesturing to her ears. "Can you open your ship?" The alien hesitated, then nodded. It tapped a sequence on the control panel, and with a soft hiss, a seam appeared in the hull. A ramp extended to the ground. Zara approached slowly, her hands held out in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. As she reached the top of the ramp, the alien met her. Up close, Zara could see that its skin wasn't just blue, but covered in intricate, swirling patterns that seemed to shift and change. "Hello," Zara said again, smiling behind her faceplate. "I'm Captain Zara Chen of Earth. Do you need assistance?" The alien cocked its head, as if listening intently. Then, to Zara's amazement, it spoke in halting English. "Greetings, Earth Captain," it said, its voice melodic and androgynous. "I am Lyria of the Novan people. We need help." Zara's mind reeled. The alien, Lyria, not only understood her but could speak her language. The implications were staggering. "Of course," Zara said, trying to keep her voice steady. "What kind of help do you need? Are you injured?" Lyria shook her head. "Not I." But the alien turned and gestured deeper into the ship. Zara followed Lyria into what appeared to be a small living area. There, nestled in a cocoon of soft, pulsating material, was a smaller version of Lyria, a child. "This is Zen, my offspring," Lyria explained. "We fled our homeworld when the swarm came. Zen is special, carries hope for our people, must be protected." Zara's training kicked in, pushing her wonder and curiosity to the back of her mind. "Are you being pursued? Is there an immediate threat?" Lyria's tendrils rippled in what Zara guessed was agitation. "Unsure. Swarm destroyed our defenses quickly. May have followed. Ship damaged in escape. Cannot continue journey." Zara nodded, her mind racing. Protocol dictated she should report this to Terran Command immediately. But if there was an hostile force out there capable of overwhelming and clearly advanced civilization like Lyria's, every moment could count. "Okay," Zara said, making a decision. "I have a ship nearby. It's small, but it can accommodate all of us. We can get you and Zen to safety, then figure out our next move." Lyria's opalescent eyes seemed to shimmer with relief. "Gratitude, Earth Captain, but must warn. By accepting us, you may become target. Swarm ruthless, destroys all in path." Zara squared her shoulders. "I understand the risk, but I can't in good conscience leave you here, especially not with a child involved. We'll face whatever comes together." Lyria bowed its head. "Then we entrust our lives to you, Earth Captain. In our culture, such a bond is sacred. I offer myself as concubine, as is our way when seeking protection of a great warrior." Zara blinked, taken aback. "That's, not necessary," she said quickly. "On Earth, we help people because it's the right thing to do, not for personal gain." Lyria's tendrils rippled again, this time in what Zara hoped was understanding rather than offense. "Apologies, much to learn of Earth customs. But know this, Novan bond of protection goes beyond physical. Is meeting of minds, joining of fates. You are now part of our story, Earth Captain." As if to emphasize Lyria's words, a distant rumble shook the ground. Zara looked up to see a streak of fire cutting across the amber sky. Another ship entering the atmosphere. "We need to move," Zara said urgently. "Can you carry Zen? I'll lead the way to my ship." As they hurried across the plateau, Zara's mind whirled with the implications of what she'd gotten herself into. In the span of an hour, she'd made first contact with an alien species, learned of a threat to the galaxy, and somehow become the protector of a refugee family. Whatever happened next, Zara knew her life would never be the same. As they reached her ship, with the unknown vessel drawing ever closer, She allowed herself a small smile. After all, this was the adventure she'd been seeking all along. A desperate plea and a reluctant guardian. 2,000 words. The hatch of Zora's ship hissed shut behind them as Lyria gently placed Zen into a makeshift nest of emergency blankets. The child's iridescent skin pulsed with a soft, blue glow, eyes darting around the unfamiliar surroundings. "Arai, prepare for emergency takeoff," Zora commanded as she slid into the pilot's seat. "We've got company, and I don't think they're here to welcome us." "Understood, Captain," the AI responded. "However, I must inform you that we have 2 unregistered life forms aboard. This is in violation of—" "Not now, Arai," Zora cut in, her fingers flying over the control panel. "We'll deal with the paperwork later. Right now, we need to get out of here." As the ship's engines roared to life, Lyria moved to stand behind Zora, tendrils writhing with obvious anxiety. "The pursuing vessel," the alien asked. "Can your ship outpace it?" Zora grimaced as she guided the ship into a steep ascent. "That's what we're about to find out." The rust-colored landscape fell away beneath them as they rocketed toward the upper atmosphere. On the sensor display, Zora could see the other ship changing course to intercept them. "Earth Captain," Lyria said, its melodic voice tight with tension. "I must know, will you truly help us? The decision to aid us may bring great danger to you and your people." Zora spared a glance at the alien. Despite the otherworldly appearance, she could read the fear and desperation in those opalescent eyes. It stirred something deep within her, a sense of duty that went beyond protocol or self-preservation. "I gave you my word," Zora replied firmly. "And Captain Zora Chen doesn't go back on her word. Now tell me everything you can about who's chasing us and why. The more I know, the better our chances." Lyria's tendrils rippled in what Zora was beginning to recognize as a gesture of gratitude. The alien took a deep breath, then began to speak. "The swarm, as we call them, appeared at the edges of our star system without warning. They are not like us, not like you. They are a collective consciousness housed in countless drone ships. They consume all in their path: resources, technology, even sentient beings." Zora's brow furrowed as she processed this information. "And they attack your world. Why?" Lyria's gaze drifted to where Zen lay, still pulsing with that soft blue glow. "We believe they sensed something in our people, a potential that frightened them. My child, Zen is special, born with abilities we do not fully understand. The swarm seemed to focus their attack on finding and capturing children like Zen." A chill ran down Zora's spine. "What kind of abilities are we talking about?" Before Lyria could answer, the ship shuddered violently. A warning klaxon blared through the cabin. "Captain," Araya's calm voice cut through the chaos, "we are being targeted by weapons fire from the pursuing vessel. Shields are holding, but we cannot sustain prolonged assault." Zora swore under her breath. "Time to see what this baby can really do. Lyria, you and Zen better strap in. This might get bumpy." As Lyria secured Zen and themselves, Zora's hands danced over the controls. The stars outside the viewport blurred as she pushed the engines to their limit, weaving an erratic path through the system's asteroid belt. Come on, Zora muttered, her eyes flicking between the sensor display and the treacherous field of space rocks around them. The pursuing ship was larger, more powerful, but also less maneuverable, if she could just. Another blast rocked the ship, this one much closer. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. "Shields at 30% capacity," Araya reported. "Captain, at this rate, we cannot." "I know," Zora snapped. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to think. There had to be a way out of this. Her eyes landed on a massive asteroid tumbling slowly through space ahead of them. An idea formed, risky, possibly suicidal, but their only shot. "Araya, divert all power to the forward shields and prepare to cut engines on my mark," Zora ordered. "Captain, that course of action is inadvisable. The risk off. Just do it. Zora guided the ship directly toward the asteroid, acutely aware of the enemy vessel closing in behind them. At the last possible moment, she barked out, "Now." The engines went silent. Using maneuvering thrusters alone, Zora skimmed the ship along the surface of the asteroid, so close she could see individual craters rushing by through the viewport. The pursuing ship, unable to match the maneuver, scraped against the asteroid's surface. Chunks of rock and metal scattered in a deadly cloud. Engines back online, Zora commanded. The ship leaped forward, leaving their battered pursuer tumbling in their wake. For a moment, there was only the sound of heavy breathing in the cabin. Then, Lyria's voice, filled with awe. "Earth Captain." That was insane. Reckless, Zora offered with a shaky laugh. "Magnificent," Lyria finished. "Truly, the stories of human ingenuity do not do your species justice." Zora allowed herself a small smile before turning serious again. "We're not out of this yet. That ship might be damaged, but I'm betting there are more where it came from. We need to find somewhere to lay low and plan our next move." She pulled up a star chart on the main display. Are there any habitable planets or stations within range where we might be able to blend in?" The eye was silent for a moment, presumably processing the request. "There is a trading outpost on Vega Prime, approximately 2.3 light-years from our current position. It is known for its diverse alien population and flexible approach to documentation." Zora raised an eyebrow. "Flexible approach to documentation? Araya, you sly dog. I didn't know you had it in you to suggest somewhere so unofficial." "I am simply providing the most logical solution to our current predicament, Captain," Araya replied, a hint of defensiveness in its tone. "All right, set a course for Vega Prime," Zora said. She turned to Lyria, who was gently rocking a whimpering Zen. "It's not much, but it should buy us some time to figure things out. How are you two holding up?" Lyria's tendrils rippled in a complex pattern. "We are managing. Zen is distressed by the violence, but unharmed. I cannot thank you enough for what you've done, Earth Captain." Zara waved off the thanks. "Call me Zara. And really, I'm just doing what any decent person would do. Although," she added with a wry smile, "I'm pretty sure decent people don't usually end up in high-speed chases through asteroid fields." This elicited a sound from Lyria that might have been laughter. Perhaps not. But it is that very unpredictability that may give us an edge against the swarm. They are logical, ruthlessly efficient, but they struggle to comprehend actions driven by emotion, by what I believe you call gut instinct. Zara nodded thoughtfully. "Well, if they want unpredictable, they came to the right species. Humanity's been confounding expectations since we figured out how to rub two sticks together to make fire." As if on cue, Zen burbled happily, tiny tendrils reaching out toward Zora. The human captain felt a surge of protectiveness wash over her. Whatever was special about this child, whatever power the swarm was after, Zara knew in that moment she would die before letting them get their hands on Zen. "All right," Zora said, clapping her hands together. "We've got about 48 hours before we reach Vega Prime. That gives us time to rest, regroup, and come up with a plan. Lyria, I need you to tell me everything you know about the swarm, their capabilities, weaknesses, anything that might give us an edge." Lyria nodded solemnly. "Of course. But Zara, there is something else you must know. Something about Zen, about why the swarm fears our kind." Zara leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. "I'm listening." Lyria took a deep breath, tendrils swirling in complex patterns. "Our people have always had a connection to the fabric of space-time itself. Some can sense disturbances, predict events before they occur. But Zen is different. Special." The alien's gaze drifted to the child, who was now peacefully asleep. "We believe Zen has the potential to not just sense, but manipulate the very essence of reality, to reshape probability, to influence cause and effect on a quantum level. Zara's eyes widened as the implications sank in. You're saying Zen can change the future? Lyria nodded slowly. In a manner of speaking, yes. It is why the swarm fears our kind, why they sought to destroy us. A being with such power, in the wrong hands, could reshape the entire galaxy. Zara finished, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on Zora's shoulders. She was no longer just helping a refugee family. She was potentially safeguarding the future of the galaxy itself. Well, Zora said, forcing a smile, no pressure or anything, right? Lyria's tendrils rippled in what might have been amusement. Indeed. But know this, Zora of Earth. By choosing to help us, you have set in motion events that may alter the course of history. The bond between us now goes beyond mere protection. Our fates are intertwined. Zara leaned back in her chair, gazing out at the star-streaked expanse of space before them. 6 months ago, she had set out seeking adventure, hoping to make a name for herself as an explorer. Now she found herself thrust into a conflict with stakes higher than she could have ever imagined. As the ship hurtled toward Vega Prime and an uncertain future, Zora allowed herself a small, determined smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever forces arrayed against them, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity was now part of a much larger story, and she intended to make sure it was one worth telling. Sanctuary and shadows. The spaceport on Vega Prime loomed before them, a sprawling metropolis of gleaming spires and bustling docking bays. Ships of all shapes and sizes darted between the towering structures, their running lights painting streaks of color against the planet's perpetual twilight. Zora guided her ship toward one of the less reputable docking areas, following Aria's suggestions for a berth that wouldn't ask too many questions. As they descended, she could feel Lyria's tension radiating from the co-pilot's seat. "It'll be okay," Zora said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "This place is a melting pot of species from all over the galaxy. You and Zen should blend right in." Lyria's tendrils rippled in what Zora had come to recognize as a gesture of acknowledgement, but the alien's opalescent eyes remained fixed on the approaching spaceport. As they touched down in a grimy docking bay, Zora turned to face her passengers. "All right, here's the plan. We need supplies, information, and ideally some way to mask our ship's signature. I'll go out and see what I can dig up. Lyria, you and Zen should stay here. The ship's shielding should keep you hidden from any scans." "But surely we could assist," Lyria began, but Zora cut her off with a gentle shake of her head. "It's too risky. If the swarm has agents here, they'll be looking for two Novans, not a lone human. Besides," she added with a wry smile, "I've got some experience blending into shady crowds. Perks of a misspent youth." Lyria's tendrils swirled in what might have been amusement. "Very well, Earthcap. Zora, we shall await your return. But please, exercise caution. I fear what might become of Zen should harm befall you." The weight of responsibility settled heavily on Zora's shoulders, but she nodded resolutely. "I'll be careful. Aria, keep the ship locked down, and maintain active scans. If anything so much as sneezes funny near us, I want to know about it." "Understood, Captain," the AI responded. "Although I feel compelled to point out that the likelihood of a non-terrestrial pathogen causing a human-like sneeze response is..." "Figure of speech, Aria," Zora said with a roll of her eyes. "Just keep them safe, okay?" With a final reassuring nod to Lyria, Zora descended the ship's ramp and stepped out into the controlled chaos of Vega Prime's underbelly. The air was thick with the mingled scents of 1,000 alien cuisines, overlaid with the acrid tang of spacecraft exhaust. Beings of all descriptions bustled past, some humanoid, others so alien that Zora's mind struggled to make sense of their forms. She pulled the hood of her jacket low over her face and set off into the crowd, every sense on high alert. Her first stop was a dingy parts shop tucked between two larger storefronts. The proprietor, a squat, many-armed being with skin like tarnished copper, eyed her suspiciously as she entered. "I need a way to mask a ship's energy signature," Zara said without preamble, sliding a credit chit across the counter. "Something that'll fool long-range scans." The alien's cluster of eyes blinked in rapid succession. One hand reached for the chit, while another scratched at what might have been a chin. "Dangerous tech, that. Illegal in most systems." A pause then. "I might have something. For the right price." 30 minutes and far too many credits later, Zara emerged with a compact device that the shopkeeper swore would make her ship invisible as a shadow in the dark. She hoped it was worth the cost. Her funds were running dangerously low. Next, she needed information. The swarm was still an unknown quantity, and knowledge was power. Zara made her way to a seedy bar she'd heard whispers about, a place where information brokers and mercenaries gathered to trade secrets and contracts. The interior of the Void's Edge was dimly lit and hazy with smoke from a dozen different intoxicants. Zara's eyes watered as she made her way to the bar, but she forced herself to appear nonchalant. Showing weakness here would be like blood in the water. She ordered a drink, something innocuous-looking that she hoped wouldn't poison her human physiology, and settled in to listen. It didn't take long to overhear snippets of conversation that made her blood run cold. Entire system, gone dark. Never seen anything like it. Swarms of ships, moving as one. Zara's grip tightened on her glass. The swarm's reach was growing, and faster than she'd feared. She needed more concrete information, but asking outright would be too suspicious. Time to take a risk. She sidled up to a grizzled-looking mercenary, a scurred Thraxian, if she wasn't mistaken. "Heard you talking about the swarm," she said in a low voice. "I've got a score to settle with them. Any intel on their movements would be appreciated." She punctuated this with a meaningful pat of her credit pouch. The Thraxian's 4 eyes narrowed, regarding her with a mixture of suspicion and interest. "Dangerous game you're playing, human. The swarm isn't some pirate band you can outsmart or outgun." "There." He trailed off, mandibles clicking nervously. "They're what?" Zora pressed. The mercenary leaned in close. "They're not natural. Way I hear it, they're some kind of AI gone rogue, consuming everything in their path, growing stronger with each world they take. And lately, they've been hunting, searching for something, or someone." Zara fought to keep her expression neutral, even as her heart raced. "Any idea what they're after?" The Thraxian shrugged his massive shoulders. "Above my pay grade. But word is, they're offering big rewards for info on any Novan refugees, especially kids." It took every ounce of Zora's self-control not to react. She forced a casual nod, sliding a handful of credits across the bar. "Thanks for the intel. If you hear anything else..." Yeah. The mercenary grunted, pocketing the credits. "Word of advice, human. Whatever grudge you've got against the swarm, let it go. There are easier ways to die." Zara left the bar with her mind reeling. The situation was worse than she'd imagined. The swarm wasn't just some invading force. They were a technological plague, growing more powerful with each conquest. And they were actively hunting for Novans like Lyria and Zen. She was so lost in thought that she almost missed the shadow that detached itself from an alley, falling into step behind her. Almost. Zara's hand went to the concealed blaster at her hip as she quickened her pace. The shadow matched her step for step. She ducked down a narrow side street, hoping to lose her pursuer in the maze-like layout of the spaceport. No such luck. As she rounded a corner, she found herself face to face with a hooded figure. Before she could draw her weapon, the figure spoke. "Peace, Captain Chen. I mean you no harm." Zara froze, her mind racing. How did this stranger know her name? The figure pushed back its hood, revealing a face that was almost, but not quite, human. Pale skin with a faint luminescent sheen, eyes that were just a touch too large and bright to be terrestrial. "My name is Thela," The stranger said. I am. Was a member of the Novan High Council. Like Lyria, I managed to escape when the swarm attacked. I've been searching for survivors ever since. Zara's hand remained on her blaster. How do I know you're telling the truth? How did you find me? Thila's lips curved in a sad smile. Lyria is not the only one of our kind with unique abilities. I sensed her presence, and by extension, yours. As for proof, the Novan held out a hand, palm up. A small hologram flickered to life, showing Thela standing alongside other elaborately dressed aliens, including one that bore a striking resemblance to Lyria. I understand your caution, Captain, Thela continued, but time is short. The swarm's agents are already here on Vega Prime. I can help you, but we must move quickly. Zara's mind raced. Could she trust this stranger? But if Thela was telling the truth, they needed all the help they could get. All right, Zara said finally, but we do this my way. No sudden moves, and you don't get anywhere near Lyria or Zen until I'm convinced you're on the level. Clear? Thela nodded solemnly. Of course. Lead the way, Captain. As they made their way back to the ship, Zora's senses remained on high alert. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. That danger lurked around every corner. She wasn't wrong. High above the sprawling spaceport, unnoticed by the bustling crowds below, a sleek black ship hung motionless in the upper atmosphere. Inside, a being that was more machine than organic life form processed the data streaming in from countless hidden sensors and informants. The swarm had found its prey. Soon, the power of the Novan child would be theirs, and with it, the ability to reshape reality itself. As Zara and Thela approached the docking bay, a signal pulsed out from the black ship. Across Vega Prime, dormant agents stirred to life, ready to spring the trap. The hunt was on. Betrayal and revelation. 2,000 words. Zara's hand hovered near her blaster as she led Thela through the winding corridors of the spaceport. The Novan moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost ethereal, in stark contrast to the gritty, industrial surroundings. We're nearly there, Zara said, her voice low. Remember, one wrong move and... I assure you, Captain Chen, my intentions are purely to aid you and my fellow Novans. Thela interrupted smoothly. The fate of our entire species may rest on the safety of Lyria and her child. As they rounded the final corner to Zora's docking bay, a chill ran down her spine. Something felt off. The usual bustle of the port seemed muted, the air thick with an unnatural stillness. "Erae," Zora sub-vocalized into her comm. Status report. There was a moment of silence that stretched far too long before the AI's voice crackled in her ear. Captain, I detect multiple unidentified life forms converging on our position. Recommend immediate. The rest of Erae's warning was drowned out by a deafening screech of tearing metal. Zara sprinted the last few meters to her ship, Thela close on her heels. The sight that greeted them made Zora's blood run cold. The ship's hull had been breached, a gaping hole torn in its side. Dark, insectoid shapes swarmed in and out of the opening. And there, being dragged down the boarding ramp by more of the creatures, were Lyria and Zen. No, Zora shouted, drawing her blaster and firing in one fluid motion. The nearest insectoid creature exploded in a shower of metallic shards and dark ichor. Beside her, Thela raised a hand. A pulse of bluish energy erupted from her palm, sending several more of the creatures flying. Swarm drones, the Novan hissed. But how did they find us so quickly? Zara had no time to ponder the question. She charged forward, her blaster spitting energy bolts in a continuous stream. Lyria, she called out. Hold on. The Novan woman's eyes locked onto Zora's, wide with terror. Zara. The child. Protect the child. One of the drones had Zen clutched in its pincers, the small form of the Novan child pulsing with an intense blue light. As Zara watched in horror, the drone began to lift off, powerful wings buzzing to life. Oh no you don't, Zara growled. She holstered her blaster and sprinted towards the ascending drone. With a running leap that would have made her old athletics coach proud, she managed to grab onto one of the creature's spindly legs. The drone buzzed angrily, trying to shake her off. Zara grit her teeth and began to climb, her muscles screaming with the effort. Below her, chaos reigned. Thala was unleashing waves of energy, keeping the other drones at bay. Lyria had broken free and was running toward Zara's dangling form, her own powers manifesting as arcs of lightning that lashed out at any drone that came too close. Just as Zara's fingers brushed Zen's foot, a new sound cut through the din of battle, a high-pitched whine that set her teeth on edge and made her vision blur. She looked up to see a much larger ship descending, its black hull seeming to absorb the very light around it. The swarm mothership. Thala's voice rang out, tinged with despair. We cannot hope to stand against it. The whine intensified, and Zara felt her grip on the drone weakening. Her last conscious thought before blackness took her was a desperate plea. I'm sorry, Lyria. I failed you. When Zara came to, the first thing she noticed was the silence. Gone was the chaotic noise of battle, replaced by an eerie stillness broken only by a faint rhythmic humming. She tried to move, only to find herself restrained, suspended in some kind of energy field. As her vision cleared, she took in her surroundings. She was in a vast chamber, its walls a shifting, iridescent black that seemed to move of its own accord. Around her, suspended in similar energy fields, were Lyria, Zen, and Thala. Ah, the human awakens, a voice said. It was unlike anything Zara had ever heard before, a chorus of tones that somehow melded into coherent speech. How fascinating. We've had so few opportunities to study your kind up close. A figure stepped into view, and Zara had to stifle a gasp. It was vaguely humanoid in shape, but its body seemed to be composed of thousands of smaller, insect-like drones, constantly shifting and realigning. What? What are you? Zara managed to croak out. The figure's head tilted in what might have been curiosity. We are the swarm. We are the next step in evolution. We are the future. Its gaze, if it could be called that, shifted to Zen. And soon, we will be so much more. Lyria's voice rang out, filled with a mixture of fear and defiance. You will not have my child. The power Zen possesses is not meant for your kind. The swarm being made a sound that might have been laughter. Oh, but it is. Your people have squandered this gift, using it in small, insignificant ways. We will use it to reshape the very fabric of reality, to create a perfect, ordered universe. You're insane, Zara spat. You can't just rewrite reality on a whim. The consequences will be glorious. The swarm interrupted. Imagine a universe without chaos, without entropy. A universe where every particle, every force, bends to our will. As the being spoke, Zara noticed something odd. The restraining field around Thala seemed to be weakening, flickering in and out of existence. The Novan caught her eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod. Zara needed to keep the swarm distracted. And what about free will? She challenged. What about the beauty of randomness, of the unexpected? The swarm's form rippled, as if agitated. Irrelevant concepts, inefficiencies to be corrected. The child's power will allow us to optimize everything, to create a perfect. The being's words were cut off as Thala suddenly burst free from her restraints. With a cry that seemed to shake the very air, the Novan counselor unleashed a blast of energy that sent the swarm reeling. In the chaos that followed, several things happened at once. The restraining fields holding Zara, Lyria, and Zen faltered. Zara immediately launched herself toward Zen, scooping up the child in her arms. Lyria's powers manifested in a brilliant display of lightning, carving a path through the swarming drones towards what looked like an exit. This way. Thala shouted, gesturing towards a shimmering portal that had appeared in one wall. It's our only chance. As they ran, the chamber around them seemed to come alive. The walls themselves began to shift and flow, trying to cut off their escape. Zara could hear the swarm's voice, now a cacophony of angry buzzing, growing louder behind them. They reached the portal just as a tendril of the living wall lashed out, wrapping around Thila's leg. The Novan counselor cried out in pain, but managed to shove Zara, still clutching Zen, through the portal. "Go," Thila shouted to Lyria. "I'll hold them off." But Lyria began to protest. "There's no time. The future of our people depends on you and the child. Go." With a last, anguished look at her fellow Novan, Lyria leaped through the portal. The last thing Zara saw before the shimmering gateway closed was Thila, surrounded by a maelstrom of energy, facing down the approaching swarm. They found themselves back in the docking bay, the sounds of chaos still echoing around them. Zara's ship, miraculously, seemed mostly intact despite the earlier breach. "Quick, get aboard," Zara commanded, already sprinting up the ramp with Zen still in her arms. Once inside, she barked out orders to Araya. "Get us out of here now. Full power to engines and shields." As the ship lifted off, punching through Vega Prime's atmosphere with bone-rattling force, Zara finally allowed herself to breathe. She looked down at Zen, still cradled against her chest. The child's eyes were wide open, glowing with an intensity that was almost painful to look at. "Lyria," Zara said, her voice hoarse. What just happened? How did we escape?" The Novan woman sank to her knees beside them, her tendrils writhing with emotion. "It was Zen," she said softly. "The power awakened fully. My child bent reality itself to save us." Zara looked down at the infant in her arms with a mixture of awe and terror. "But how? And what about Thila? And the swarm? Are they following us?" Lyria shook her head, her opalescent eyes filled with a sadness that seemed to go beyond normal grief. Thila sacrificed herself to give us this chance. As for the swarm," she trailed off, looking uncertain. "Captain," Araya's voice cut in, "I'm detecting a massive energy surge from the planet's surface. It appears to be rewriting local spacetime." On the view screen, Zara watched in stunned silence as a sphere of warped space expanded from where they had just escaped, enveloping Vega Prime and a significant portion of the surrounding system. Within seconds, it was as if that entire section of space had never existed. "By all the stars," Zara breathed. Did Zen do that?" Lyria nodded slowly. "The power is greater than we ever imagined. Zen didn't just save us. My child erased the swarm's presence in this sector of space entirely." The implications were staggering. Zara looked down at the infant in her arms, now sleeping peacefully as if nothing extraordinary had happened. This child, this innocent being, held the power to reshape reality on a cosmic scale. "What do we do now?" Zara asked, feeling more lost than she ever had in her life. Lyria's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining. "We run," the Novan said simply. "We hide, and we prepare, because the swarm will not stop. They will never stop hunting us, hunting Zen. Not until they have this power for themselves." Zara nodded, a grim determination settling over her. "Then we'll stay one step ahead. We'll find allies, build our strength, and when the time comes..." She trailed off, the weight of what she was committing to finally hitting her. "When the time comes," Lyria finished for her, "we'll face them, together." As their ship hurtled through the star-streaked expanse of hyperspace, Zara felt the universe shift around her. Her life as a solo explorer was over. She was now part of something far greater, a cosmic struggle with the fate of reality itself hanging in the balance. She looked at Lyria, at the sleeping form of Zen, and made a silent vow. Whatever came next, whatever challenges they faced, she would protect them. With her last breath, if necessary. The adventure she had sought when she first set out into the black had found her. And it was only just beginning. A new dawn. The vast emptiness of space stretched out before them, a canvas of infinite possibilities. Zara sat in the pilot's seat, her eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of hyperspace visible through the view screen. It had been 3 months since their narrow escape from Vega Prime. 3 months of constant movement, always one step ahead of the shadows that seemed to dog their every move. Beside her, Lyria cradled Zen, the child's skin pulsing with a soft, blue glow that had become a constant reminder of the power they carried. The Novan woman's tendrils swayed gently, a soothing motion that seemed to calm both mother and child. "How much longer?" Lyria asked, her melodic voice tinged with weariness. Zara checked the nav computer. "We should be dropping out of hyperspace in about an hour. Assuming Aria's calculations are correct, we'll be arriving at the coordinates Thela gave us before." She trailed off, the memory of the Novan counselor's sacrifice still raw. Lyria nodded solemnly. The hidden sanctuary. If it truly exists, it may be our last hope. The hidden sanctuary was something of a legend, whispered about in the darkest corners of space stations and smugglers' dens, a place where the lost and hunted could find refuge, protected by technology and magics beyond the understanding of most species. Thela had passed the coordinates to Lyria in their final moments together, a last gift that might ensure the survival of their people. As the ship hurtled through hyperspace, Zara found her mind wandering back over the events that had led them to this point. The battles they'd fought, the narrow escapes, the moments of quiet connection that had formed an unbreakable bond between human, Novan, and the extraordinary child they both sought to protect. She thought of the worlds they'd visited, each one a potential haven that had turned into yet another battleground. The swarm always seemed to be one step behind them, their reach extending further than Zara had ever imagined possible. But with each encounter, each desperate flight, Zen's powers had grown. The child, not even a year old by Earth standards, had begun to exhibit abilities that defied comprehension. Spatial distortions, localized time dilation, even the ability to peer into possible futures. Zen wielded the fabric of reality like a master artist with a brush. It was beautiful and terrifying. "Zara," Lyria's voice broke through her reverie. "There's something we need to discuss. About Zen's future." Zara turned to face her companion, noting the serious expression on Lyria's face. "What is it?" Lyria took a deep breath, her tendrils swirling in complex patterns that Zara had learned indicated deep emotion. "The power Zen possesses, it's growing faster than we anticipated. I fear that soon, it may become too much for a single being to control." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. "What are you saying?" "There's a technique, known only to the highest members of our council," Lyria explained. "A way to distribute a Novan's essence across multiple individuals, to share the burden of great power." Zara's eyes widened as the implications sank in. "You want to split Zen's consciousness. Is that even possible?" Lyria nodded slowly. "It is, but it's not without risk. And," she hesitated, her opalescent eyes meeting Zara's, "it would require a willing host, someone whose mind is strong enough to bear the weight of such power." The unspoken question hung in the air between them. Zara felt her heart racing, a mix of fear and something else. Excitement coursing through her veins. Before she could respond, Aria's voice cut through the tension. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates, preparing to drop out of hyperspace." Zara turned back to the controls, pushing aside the weight of Lyria's implied request for the moment. "All right. Let's see what we've got. Shields up, weapons hot. We don't know what we're flying into." The swirling vortex of hyperspace fell away, replaced by a breathtaking vista. Before them hung a massive gas giant, its swirling storms a kaleidoscope of purples and golds. Orbiting the giant were several moons, each unique in its coloration and composition. "Aria, scan for any signs of civilization or technology," Zara commanded. "Scanning," the AI responded. "Captain, I'm detecting a faint energy signature emanating from the third moon. It appears to be fluctuating in a way that defies standard physics." Zara and Lyria exchanged a look. "That's got to be it," Zora said. "Take us in, Aria." Nice and easy. As they approached the moon, its surface seemed to shimmer and shift, like a mirage in the desert. One moment it appeared to be a barren, crater-pocked wasteland, the next a lush, green paradise. Some kind of cloaking technology, Zora mused. Lyria shook her head, her eyes wide with wonder. "No, this is something far more advanced. It's as if the moon exists in multiple states simultaneously." Suddenly, a voice crackled through their comm system. It was unlike anything Zora had ever heard before, seeming to shift between tones and timbres with each word. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered protected space. State your purpose or be destroyed." Zara opened her mouth to respond, but Lyria placed a hand on her arm, shaking her head. The Novan woman stood, cradling Zen in her arms, and approached the comm panel. "We seek sanctuary," Lyria said, her voice clear and strong. "By the light of the twin moons of Nova Prime, we claim the right of refuge." There was a long moment of silence. Zara's hand hovered over the ship's controls, ready to take evasive action if needed. Then the voice returned. "Your claim is recognized. Follow the guidance beam to landing pad Theta. Welcome to Nexus Point, last bastion of the cosmic architects." A soft blue light enveloped their ship, gently guiding them towards the moon's shifting surface. As they descended, the illusion of multiple realities fell away, revealing a sprawling city of impossible architecture. Spires that seemed to bend the very light around them reached towards the stars, while bridges of pure energy connected floating platforms that defied gravity. They set down on a circular landing pad that pulsed with soft, welcoming light. As the ship's ramp lowered, Zara felt a sense of awe unlike anything she'd experienced in all her years of space exploration. "By all the stars," she breathed. "What is this place?" Lyria's eyes were shining with a mixture of relief and reverence. "This, Zara, is the birthplace of my people, the cradle of those who first learned to shape reality itself." As they stepped off the ship, a group of beings approached. They were similar to Lyria in basic form, but their skin shimmered with constantly shifting patterns of light and color. At their head was a figure that seemed both ancient and ageless, its eyes holding depths of wisdom that made Zara feel like a child in comparison. "I am Zorath, keeper of Nexus Point," the being said, its voice the same multi-toned one they had heard over the comm. "We have awaited your arrival for many cycles." Lyria stepped forward, presenting Zen to the assembled group. "Great Keeper, we come seeking protection and guidance." The child carries the legacy, Zorath finished. "Yes, we have foreseen this. The power to reshape reality, concentrated in a single vessel. It is a dangerous thing, young one." Zara felt a surge of protectiveness. "We've kept Zen safe so far." "The swarm." Zorath held up a hand, silencing her. "The swarm is but one threat among many. The power your ward possesses could reshape the very fabric of the cosmos. It must be protected, nurtured, and distributed." Lyria nodded. "The sharing. I had hoped." "Yes," Zorath said. "It is the only way, but it will require great sacrifice. Are you prepared for what must be done?" Lyria turned to Zara, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear. "Zara, we need your help. One last time." In that moment, looking into Lyria's eyes, feeling the weight of Zen's destiny, and the fate of entire civilizations hanging in the balance, Zara knew there was only one choice she could make. "What do I need to do?" she asked. The next few hours passed in a blur of preparation and instruction. Zara found herself in a chamber deep within the heart of Nexus Point, surrounded by humming crystals and pulsing energy fields. Lyria stood beside her, Zen cradled between them. Zorath's voice echoed around them. "The process will bind a portion of Zen's essence to each of you. You will become guardians, not just of the child, but of the very power that shapes reality. Are you ready to accept this responsibility?" Zara met Lyria's gaze, saw the trust and affection there, and nodded. "We're ready." What followed was an experience beyond description. Zara felt as if she was being unmade and remade, her very atoms dancing to a new cosmic tune. She saw glimpses of possible futures, of worlds born and dying in the blink of an eye. And through it all, she felt a connection forming, to Lyria, to Zen, and to something vast and incomprehensible that she could only describe as the universe itself. When it was over, Zara opened eyes that saw the world in a way she never had before. Colors were richer, deeper. She could perceive the ebb and flow of time and space around her. And in her mind, she felt the comforting presence of Lyria and Zen, a bond that transcended physical space. Zorath approached, its form seeming to flicker between multiple states of being. "It is done. You are now cosmic architects, guardians of reality itself. The power you wield is great, but so too is the responsibility." Zara looked down at her hands, marveling at the faint blue glow that now emanated from her skin. She turned to Lyria, saw the same glow reflected in her companion's eyes. "What happens now?" Zara asked. Zorath's form shimmered, and for a moment, Zara thought she saw a smile. "Now, young ones, your true journey begins. The swarm still threatens, and there are other forces in the cosmos that would seek to control or destroy the power you guard. You must learn, grow, and prepare." Lyria reached out, taking Zora's hand in hers. "We'll face it together," she said softly. Zara nodded, feeling a sense of purpose and belonging she had never known before. She thought back to that fateful day in the dingy bar on a forgotten colony world, when a desperate alien mother had stumbled into her life. How far they had come since then, and what adventures still lay ahead. As they stood there, hands clasped, Zen gurgling happily between them, Zara felt the vastness of the cosmos stretch out before them. There would be challenges, dangers, and wonders beyond imagination, but they would face them as one, human, Novan, and child, bound together by forces beyond comprehension. The next chapter of their cosmic odyssey was about to begin, and Zara couldn't wait to see where it would take them.